Hi, this is the eulogy that I did at my mother's funeral. So, my mother dying has reminded me of how aware of my parents' mortality I've been since I was little. In first grade, my parents went on vacation to Mexico. I was so scared that their plane might crash that I bought, brought a small transistor radio to school to monitor the news just in case. Here are some random thoughts about my mom. A couple of months ago, she mentioned how impressed she was that our dog Lovey treated all of our family members equally. Lovey didn't show favorites. I thought that was true and very insightful. My mom was amazed that Lovey could balance a tennis ball on the bridge of her nose for a long time and she looked like a seal. I was a very difficult child, and it amazes me how my parents put up with me. I would take my mother's lipstick and run around our apartment writing all over the walls. I think my mother's funniest memory of our childhood was when I took several boxes of baby powder and poured them over my sister in her crib. I can still picture Debbie standing by the railing, naked and laughing hysterically. The only thing you could see were the whites of her eyes. Uh, there was one event that was always a great mystery to me. My mother constantly yelled at us about imaginary problems. One day, I brought home some wax from science class and put it on the Formica countertop and made a wick and lit it. After a few minutes, there was a huge bang and the Formica had a big hole in it. I was shocked and still can't figure out why she wasn't even slightly angry. It got fixed at probably considerable expense, and I was never scolded. When I went to college, I had the best looking dorm room. My mom would measure my room and put a super looking piece of and buy a super looking piece of carpet. Nobody else's parents thought to do that. My mother was an amazing quilter and cook. I always miss her cooking when I go down the frozen food aisle at Trader Joe's. My mom made great banana bread and omelets. My mother was somebody that cared about me. It was important to me that I could call her and tell her what happened to me that day. It was really amazing how my sister Debbie helped my mother over the last few years. Debbie was constantly dealing with difficult issues on a daily basis. It was a 24-hour job. I am convinced that my mother lived at least another 5 years because of Debbie. After somebody dies, you should keep an eye out for signs of them. Uh, my mother was very proud of my Holocaust interviews. I interviewed over 1,700 survivors. She was very disappointed at the Holocaust Museum Yad Vashem's response recently. Yesterday, a true miracle happened. I was walking back to my place and I ran into a woman who was a tour guide for Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. So, every day when the weather's nice, I always walk down to the water, back and forth. It's a couple miles, and it was the day before the funeral, so I walked back and forth 3 times. I figured I could lose, another half pound. And I saw this older woman, it looked like her daughter, get out of a car, and on the hood of the top of the car, the roof of the car, there was an Israeli flag flying and an American flag. So, I said to them, shalom, when they walked towards me, and they were kind of in a rush. But I figured, if they had an Israeli flag on their car, I should tell them about my project. Maybe, who knows? So, I told them quickly about it, and amazingly, the girl, she was a tour guide for Yad Vashem. I mean, the odds of that, I mean, that, this could have only happened because of my mother. And I don't live in a Jewish neighborhood, so the chances of seeing people like that are remote. Hopefully, my mom is back together with my dad. There must be some pretty amazing antiques in heaven. I'm glad that she's not suffering anymore. Let's hope that she is at peace. I guess I don't have to worry about my parents' mortality anymore. May they rest in peace together forever. So that was my eulogy.